Good morning. So today I'm going to talk about 3 tips for transforming your communication. I'm Coach Kim. I am a business coach and executive coach, and I work with business owners all across the world to help them learn how to not only create a better business, but help them on the people side. How do they communicate better? How do they create those relationships better? How do we hire and attract the right people as well as work with the right customers? All right, so let's get started. The first thing that I want to mention is that communication is super important. It is super important for lots of different reasons. One, it will transform relationships when done well. And when done incorrectly, it will destroy them. And I'm sure we have all had those experiences where great conversations has really taken that relationship to another level. And then other conversations where we just didn't feel heard or that other person didn't feel heard kind of destroys it. It doesn't help. The other thing that it does is that it will transform your business. When you have great communication, you're going to be able to communicate with your team better, get them to do what you need them to do in a better way, in a faster way, more efficient, and actually have it done correctly, which is a big key. The other piece of it is also communicating through our marketing, through our sales and our advertising. When we are trying to attract the right customers, we need to be really clear about what we want. We want to work with specific core customers, and you need to know how to say that and state that clearly. When we have customer service issues, it's another great area, right? Because you have to be able to hear them and understand what's happening and what's wrong. And then not that the customer is always right, but how do I get through this issue where they feel heard? Then I can move on to create a better relationship. They say a lot of times you can create raving fans when somebody is very upset with you. So if you can figure out what the problem is, even when they're upset, and figure out a solution that works for both of you, a lot of times you can turn them over into raving fans, right? So let's talk about these 3 tips in communication. The first thing that we want to talk about, though, is understanding the ways we communicate. It's really, really important. Words is only 7% of communication, okay? So the words coming out of my mouth, while they're important, they're only 7% of what you're going to actually hear and what you're actually going to do. Voice is 38%. And what I mean by voice is tonality, speed of which I'm speaking. If I'm speaking very slowly, are you listening? Can you hear me? If I'm speaking very quickly, am I getting your attention? Is it more exciting? Do I have more energy in my voice? If I'm angry at you, you're going to hear it in my tone, right? Or if I'm frustrated, you're going to hear it in my tone. But you're also going to hear in my tone if I'm not those things. And if I'm okay, the words coming out of my mouth could be a bit disappointing or frustrating. However, if my tone is not that way, you're going to hear it better because you're not going to take offense to it necessarily. So we're going to be able to communicate. So voice tone is very, very important. And then 55% is body language, facial expressions. I'm a very facial expression person. Is that a word? I make a lot of faces. I do a lot of body language, right? Because I don't know, it's how I speak. It's how I feel comfortable. And if I can't see that in somebody when I'm communicating with them, I don't always get the full picture of the communication. Okay, so those are the first things to understand. I understand the ways we communicate, very, very important. So you have to pay attention to your own tone when you're saying something. Get feedback from people. How does this land for you? If I'm saying this, is this hurt you? Does this help you see what I need you to improve on? Is this a good way to give you feedback? Are you hearing the whole thing? And then facial expressions. How does this look? The second area is we want to practice active listening. Most of us listen so that we can hear the space where somebody stops speaking so that all of a sudden I can jump in and start saying something. That's not really listening. We're not hearing the other person. So active listening is about listening to how they feel, validating how they feel. Somebody can be upset with us and we can understand that the underlying thing is that they're just hurt or they're scared or they're frustrated. It's not always about us. It could be their own issue for whatever reason. But if we're not hearing that underlying emotion and validating how they're feeling, they're not going to feel heard. And that's really, really important. And so you want to practice active listening, which is listening for those underlying currents, not just the words coming out of the mouth. Why are they feeling like this? And I'm not saying make assumptions. Clarify it. Ask them questions. So are you feeling blank? Once you hit the nail on the head, those people come back to you and say, yes, I am feeling that way. I'm so frustrated, or whatever it is. That means you know they feel heard. Okay. The other piece of it is to repeat back exactly the words that they say. And I know this sounds very elementary, Just amazing how it works. So if I'm telling you, I'm feeling really frustrated because it feels like you don't hear what I'm saying. If you said back to me, sounds like, Kim, you're feeling really frustrated because you don't think I'm hearing you. I'm going to say, yes, that's exactly it. But sometimes when you paraphrase and you don't say exactly what I say, if you don't get it right, I'm still not going to feel hurt, if that makes sense. So just repeating some of the exact words that I say helps me know that you actually heard what I said. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So practice active listening and then practice reflecting. And reflecting can be exact words you hear coming out of somebody's mouth. And I challenge you to try this because it's amazing how it works. And then we have state what you're feeling and why. So if you are feeling something, let's say you're frustrated with something because somebody hasn't done what they said they were going to do. Okay, if you come at that person and say, you didn't do what you said you were going to do, it's driving me crazy, and I feel so far behind, and you just kind of go off on them, what are they automatically going to do? Automatically going to go into this defensive place because all of a sudden you're blaming me. You're in my face and you're telling me what I've done wrong. All of a sudden I'm going to feel like a bad person, right? I've done something wrong. So I'm going to try to figure out how do I convince you that I'm not wrong. That doesn't work. So if you can actually say, I'm feeling frustrated because I thought we had this agreement. You were going to do this. This hasn't happened. I'm just trying to figure out why. And then how do we improve it? That's a very different kind of communication style. I don't feel blamed. I do hear that, yeah, I disappointed you because we had this whole idea and I didn't live up to what I'm supposed to do. So what can I do then to live up to it, right? And then we can have a conversation about how do we do this better moving forward? Because the way that it's happening isn't working for either of us. You don't want to be frustrated, and I certainly don't want to not do what I say I'm going to do. So how do we communicate better, come up with a better plan to do this better? Okay, so those are the 3 things. Understand ways to communicate, super important. Practice active listening, super important. Really, really listen, breathe, be present, hear what people are saying, reflect back exactly what they're saying. People just want to feel validated. They just want to feel heard. That is the main thing in communication. If I tell you something, I want to know you've heard it. So tell me you've heard it. And don't just say, I heard it. Tell me what you heard me say, okay? And then the third thing, state what you're feeling and why. So tell me something from the perspective of how you're feeling, because that's going to diffuse the situation. I won't be defensive. And then I can have empathy and I can talk to you about it. All right. The last piece I want to talk about, these are modes of communication. So this goes hand in hand with the first part, which is the way that we communicate. Texting is the worst way to communicate. I put Facebooking on here because a lot of times you'll see on Facebook, people are trying to have a conversation, right, in the threads of a post or something. Terrible way to try to communicate. Emails, anything written, I am going to read into it tone that I think is there, or inflections, or I'm going to see body language in my head, right? So I'm making all this stuff up because I can't actually hear you or see you. So anything where you're texting or writing the information down to somebody, if it's sensitive information and emotional information, do not do on text. Do not do through writing. This does not convey well. People usually get overreactive, react and make up stuff in their head. This is how this person was meaning it, and then they get upset. Okay, so that's the worst way. The second kind of middle of the road is phone, because I can hear your voice. So at least on the phone, I can hear you speaking and I can hear your tone. I can hear the speed. I can hear how you're saying stuff. Now, that's still only, 38% plus 7%. I'm only getting those pieces of communication. I'm not getting body language. So obviously the best way is face-to-face. I put on here without a mask because if I have a mask on, I don't have a mask, but let's put this on. Ready? You can't see my facial expressions. You can't see my smile or my frowning or whatever. You can see a little bit in my eyes. But even though I'm smiling, it's hard to see I'm smiling. So it's really important. We're missing a lot of interaction, I think, or communication with people right now because of masks. So having a face-to-face is best. If you can have that face-to-face conversation, especially if it's a touchy, challenging conversation, I can see your body language. I can see your facial expressions. I can hear your tone. I'm going to get the whole picture. Obviously, video is why it's kind of become so popular also, is because I can see you. When I can see you and see your body language, even on video, is very hard. So face-to-face, obviously best. but video helps because at least I can see your facial expressions and I can see your body language and I can hear you. So these are things just to be thinking about. If you're going to tell somebody logistics, meet me here this time, blah, blah, blah. Yes, texting, emails, all that stuff's great. If you're going to have a conversation where there's probably going to be some emotion connected to it, either for you, obviously face-to-face is best. If you find yourself in the middle of a texting communication or conversation back and forth, and all of a sudden, for some reason, this has gone to another level and it has become emotional, stop it and just say, I think we need to have a conversation on the phone or on FaceTime or video, Zoom, whatever your pleasure is on that, or can we get together and talk? Because things can quickly escalate. And I'm sure you've all been there, right? Where you think you're being super clear, texting somebody, and they're reading it still in a way that feels like it's making them mad. And you're like, no, I'm not mad. And then you're trying to re-explain it. It just doesn't work. Pick up the phone, call them, do a FaceTime, whatever, get it over it. All right. Hope that helps. Try these 3 things if you're having some communication issues. I would love for you to comment, like this, share this if you found this interesting. It would help me get out the word to help other people. So that's all I'm trying to do. So do that, and hopefully I will see you soon.